everybody, it's Julie. Thanks for joining me here today for some Bible journaling. I'm journaling in Psalm 105, verse 8, and this is a shout out to my 8th grade Bible class at Forest Lake Education Center because this is one of our memory verses for this unit, and so I just wanted to share how they inspired me. So I have pulled out a bunch of alpha sets from Sweet'n Sassy Stamps, a variety of different kinds. I'm also pulling out this Count Your Rainbows stamp set, and it also has a matching die. I may cut out a rainbow or so. And then I've pulled out some Studio Calico. This is a patterned paper, and then a matching washi tape. But the verse says, He remembers His covenant forever, the promise He made for 1,000 generations. So I'm focusing on the covenant and the promise and what God has set in place for us. So I'll talk more about that, but that's why I'm going with this rainbow theme, because the rainbow is a sign of one of the covenants, the covenant that God established with Noah. So I'm going to go ahead and put us on fast forward and we'll get started. Okay, so I have cut out using various die cuts, four different sets that I used here. Some alphas, some numbers, the rainbow dies that match this set, and then also some mini tags. So I will have all of these products linked in the description box. And I cut them out using that patterned paper. Now I'm going to take one of the stamps from the rainbow set, Count Your Rainbows, and I'm going to stamp over that. Lots of times you should stamp it first and then cut it out, but I was just kind of doing it all at once. I'm using my stamp Shammy to clean my stamps. I wet it and then keep it in a Ziploc bag, and that helps to, while I'm working, and that helps to keep it moist and wet. Otherwise it can dry out while you're working. And then there's a smaller version of that same rainbow, and I stamped that. The good thing about the stamp Shammy is that you can get down into the crevices and just clean it all up, and it doesn't leave any residue. And you just clean it with water. Okay, so now I'm taking this little sun and I'm going to highlight my verse. I'm stamping it, and it just works great. It's a perfect size, and I will color that in. So the verse is Psalm 105, verse 8, and it says, He remembers His covenant forever, the promise He made for 1,000 generations. So I have cut out my letters here, and I'm stamping out. I just placed all of my pieces in place so I could get my spacing. Now I switch out the word remembers for keeps, because on this stamp set it had the word keeps. And if you look at the original language, the word for keeps or remembers is zakar. Zakar. And it has various usages. One is to keep, one is to remember, one is to even burn. And I love that. It's like God burns into His memory the covenant that He has established. Now right here on screen, I stamped out the word forever. This is called the Print Blocks Alpha. And I laid them all out on the block and then stamp them together. But when you do that, I don't like the spacing. They're too far apart. So I'm actually going to stamp them on to some cardstock and then cut them out, because I want them to be butted up together. So I'm stamping the word forever and generation, and then I'll cut that out, cut those little pieces out, and then I'll put some washi tape down underneath those to give it an anchor, and then also to cover up where I've stamped it already. So I'm going to use my Pitt Big Brush marker for, quite a few Pitt Big Brush markers to do my coloring here, adding some black splatter paint just to give this a more organic, natural look instead of just the starkness. So I don't remember what all the colors are that I'm going to be using with the Pitt Big Brush markers, but I list the numbers in the description box, so you can find all the products that I have used. I provide links. Some of them are affiliate links, so thank you for that. I'm adding some more of that highlighting just to bring that verse, to make it pop out more. Now let's talk a little bit more about this verse while this is just going to play out on the screen while I'm coloring, while I'm placing things down, while I am doing some more stamping. So the word zakar, he keeps, he remembers, he burns his covenant forever. Burns is a permanent word. When you burn something into wood, when you've branded, when you've burned something into your memory, it is there. And a covenant is binding. It is forever. And a covenant biblically is so powerful, is so binding. It's a relationship that is established forever. And the covenant makers, the parties in this covenant, are willing to die in order to keep the terms of the covenant. That's biblically, culturally, historically what a covenant was. It's a partnership, it's a promise, it's a pledge, but it is binding even at the risk of death. And that's exactly what this is about. God established this covenant with humans. He's called us to a covenant relationship with him. And even though we have been unfaithful and we have continued to break that covenant promise, to break our end of the deal, God was willing to die in order to keep it. So on his end, he sent his son Jesus, who was divine and who died for us. And then on our end, Jesus was human, and so he fulfilled that covenant on our behalf. So God has established this covenant and has redeemed the covenant through his son Jesus. And I just love this verse. He keeps his covenant forever, the promise he made for 1,000 generations. Now, 1,000 here, the word is elef, and it can be a specific quantitative number, or it can be a general number, meaning 1,000-fold, meaning a lot. And biblically, it was used for lots of different exact calculations, lots of specific numbers, but it also means 1,000-fold, a million, a family, divisions. It means kind of this general term that means a lot of people, a lot of generations. So the 1,000 doesn't have to be literal. It can be figurative. And in this sense, it means forever. So the word forever and then 1,000 generations, it is forever. It is binding. And we are part of that covenant relationship forever because God has redeemed it through his son, Jesus. So back on screen here, I have made some tabs for the top of my Bible. This is my illustrating Bible. And using this rainbow paper from Studio Calico, little hearts that I cut out using the die cut from the Count Your Rainbows set. And then up top, I used one of the little mini tags for my date. And then up my tab, it says, He Keeps His Word. And that is from the Faith Word Fetty set. And now I'm going to come in and add some color to the stamped word covenant. Now this particular stamp set, bold and outline, it has the outline, which I've already stamped with, and then it also has the solid images. So here I've used my Pitt Big Brush markers. I colored directly onto the stamp, and then I stamped those in the different rainbow colors. Now I'm writing my verse reference on the other little tag, and I'm tying that off with just a little bit of white string, and then using my tiny attacher to It's a little bitty stapler, and I'm stapling those to my tabs up there. Now I'm using Barely Art craft glue because it is a permanent adhesive. It works really well on these things. And then you can see I've used this quick stick a lot in this page. It is perfect for working with small pieces like this. It's got a tacky end, and so it picks up those papers, those little embellishments, things like that. It's just great for working with this kind of project. I'm using a precision pen to outline my letters and numbers here, the ones that I cut out, and it just makes them stand out against the page a little bit more. And then this rainbow, I cut it out earlier, and I decide I want it to pop out behind the word generations. So I cut it down, I measured it and then cut it down, and now I'm gluing it. So now it looks like the word generations is going across the rainbow. And that is going to do it for this page. If you have any questions or comments, then leave them in the comment section and I'll check those. Again, I'll have all the products that I've used linked in the description box, so check those out. Thanks for hanging out with me. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and make sure to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified of future videos. Thanks so much, and God bless. Bye-bye.